My dear students of course A403 on work values and ethics, this is chapter 6 on the compliance approaches. Welcome. Of the basic learning objectives of this chapter is to be able to describe the nature of ethical guidance like self-regulation,
key terms that we will discuss in
code of
this
ethics,
chapter, we
and
have
regulatory
four basic
agencies.
key terms.
So
Number
we
one
shall
is the
discuss
compliance approach, which is
how
the
we
use of
shall
laws and
enforce
regulations to
ethical
control
or
unethical behavior.
ethical
So
behavior
as you
inside the
see, these are
organization
external
using
mechanisms that are
self-regulations,
used
codes of
inside the
ethics, and
organization to enforce
resorting
ethical
to anti-corruption
behavior.
agencies.
Okay?
Number
Whether
two
written in
is to
codes of
analyze
ethics,
what form of
whether
regulation
written
is
in the different
appropriate and
professional
under which
codes, whether written
circumstances. So
in
when
rules and
can we use
regulations
codes of
or in
ethics? When
laws.
can we resort to anti-corruption
Number two
agencies?
is the
And so
integrity
on.
approach.
And
here
number
it
three,
relies on
which is to begin to develop
training,
a
education, and
regulatory
integrity
framework
to
that
curb
includes
unethical
all
behavior.
forms of regulation.
So here we do not
try to think or
impose
speculate
external
about
mechanisms or
what
regulatory
different
forms
types of
to enforce
regulatory
ethical
forms you
behavior,
can use
but
in
we
any
simply
organization.
socialize and
And
educate
here,
our employees
I strongly
on
urge you
how
to go back
behave
to
in the
your
different
topic
ethical
of your team
circumstances.
project and think about the
Number
different
three
regulatory forms that were
is
used
codes of ethics and
in the
codes of
organization
conduct,
that you chose.
which are rule-based approaches. These are documents that include various statements on how
Of the
to
basic
behave
learning
ethically
objectives of
in
this
the
chapter is to be
organization.
able to describe
Whether
the nature
by
of
telling
ethical
you
guidance
how
like
to
self-regulation, code of
respond to
ethics,
the
and
different
regulatory
circumstances,
agencies.
so mentioning
we shall
rules,
discuss
mentioning procedures, or
how we
whether
shall
one
enforce
would mention
ethical or
certain values
ethical
and
behavior inside the
principles, ethical
organization
values and
using
principles like
self-regulations,
integrity,
codes of
like
ethics,
honesty,
and
like
resorting
transparency,
to
and so on.
anti-corruption agencies.
And number four
Number two is to analyze what form of
is the
regulation is
anti-corruption
appropriate and under
agencies.
which
And these are
circumstances. So
agencies
when
that
can
are
we
created
use codes of
specifically
ethics?
for
When can we
overseeing
resort
unethical
to
behavior,
anti-corruption agencies? And so
so
on.
oversight,
And number three,
monitoring,
which is to begin to
or
develop a
for
regulatory
investigation.
framework that includes all
So
forms
if
of
they
regulation. So
received reports
try to
stating that
think or
there
speculate
is
about
unethical behavior in one of
what
the
different
organization,
types of
or
regulatory
if
forms you can
after
use in any
overseeing behavior
organization.
inside one of the
And
organizations
here,
they found out that
I
there is
strongly urge you to go
unethical
back to
conduct or
your
something
topic
like this,
of
they
your
can
team
investigate
project
it.
and think about the
Or
different
number
regulatory
three,
forms that were
guidance
used
of unethical
in
behavior,
the
where they
organization
would
that you
offer
chose.
guidelines or training workshops on how to behave in the different ethical
Of the basic learning
circumstances.
objectives
Or a
of this chapter
combination of
is to
all
be able
three.
to
So
describe the nature of ethical
anti-corruption
guidance like
agencies can
self-regulation,
perform one or
code of
more of
ethics,
these
and
three basic
regulatory
functions:
agencies.
oversight,
We shall
investigation,
discuss
and guidance.
how we shall enforce ethical behavior inside the organization using
Now,
self-regulations,
given all
codes
the
of
ethical
ethics, and
dilemmas that the
resorting
different
to anti-corruption
organizations or
agencies.
various organizations
Number
face,
two is to
two
analyze what
questions
form of
arise.
regulation is
Number one,
appropriate and
can we
under which
trust that public
circumstances. So
officials
when
behave
can we
ethically on
use
their
codes of
own
ethics? When
without any
can we
external
resort to
guidance, without
anti-corruption
any external
agencies?
laws or
And so
rules
on.
imposed on
And
them?
number three, which
Or
is to
should
begin
we
to develop a
introduce
regulatory
regulatory
framework that
regimes
includes
like
all
codes of
forms of
ethics or
regulation. So
anti-corruption
try
agencies?
to think or
So
speculate
here,
about
these two
what different
questions
types of
basically
regulatory forms you can
revolve
use in any
around the
organization.
basic two approaches: the
And here,
compliance approach
I strongly
that
urge you to go back
emphasizing
to your
using
topic of
regulatory
your
regimes
team project
or
and think about the different
frameworks in order
regulatory
to
forms that were
enforce
used
ethical behavior
in
inside the
the organization
organization,
that you chose.
versus the other approach, which is the integrity approach, that tries
Of the basic
to
learning objectives of this chapter is to be
maintain
able
that
to
people
describe the nature
normally
of
behave
ethical
ethically,
guidance
and
like
that if
self-regulation,
provided with the
code
needed
of ethics,
education,
and
training,
regulatory
and
agencies.
integrity,
So
they
we shall
would
discuss
behave ethically on their own
how we
without
shall
the necessity
enforce
of
ethical
having
or
any external
ethical behavior
regulations
inside the
imposed on
organization
them.
using self-regulations, codes of ethics, and resorting to anti-corruption
These
agencies.
previously
Number
mentioned
two
approaches,
is
the
to
integrity
analyze
approach
what
and the
form of
compliance
regulation
approach,
is
are considered by
appropriate and
many as
under which
opposite ends of a
circumstances. So
spectrum,
when can
as
we use codes
contradictory,
of ethics? When
opposing
can we
each other,
resort to
while in fact they
anti-corruption
complement
agencies?
each other,
And
and
so
they
on.
try to
And
overcome
number three,
the
which
negative
is to begin
aspects
to
of each
develop
other.
a regulatory framework that includes all forms of regulation. So
Since we are
try
talking
to
in this
think
chapter
or
about the
speculate about
compliance approach, so let us
what
move on to the
different
codes of
types of
ethics and codes
regulatory
of
forms
conduct.
you can
These,
use
as
in
I
any
said before,
organization.
include guidelines and
And here,
sanctions. So they
I
include written
strongly urge
statements
you
about
to
how
go
to
back
behave
to your
ethically
topic of
in the
your team
organization,
project and
as
think
well
about the
as
different
as
regulatory
well as
forms that were
include
used
sanctions
in
on
the organization that
that
you
are going to
chose.
be imposed on those who are going to violate the written
Of the
statements and
basic learning
guidelines.
objectives
They
of
would
this
also
chapter is to
cover
be
a
able
wide
to
scope
describe the nature of ethical
and range
guidance
of
like
practices,
self-regulation,
because
code of ethics, and
no code of
regulatory
ethics can be
agencies.
so
So we
detailed
shall
as to
discuss
cover
how we
all
shall
possible
enforce
ethical circumstances.
ethical
So they
behavior
should
inside
be
the
written in a
organization
broad
using
way, in a general
self-regulations,
way,
codes
to
of
allow
ethics,
different
and
interpretations and
resorting
different
to
application
anti-corruption
or
agencies.
implementation in the different
Number two
circumstances.
is to analyze
However,
what form of
both are not
regulation is
so often
appropriate and
distinguished
under
from
which
each other, but we
circumstances.
can
So
say
when
that
can
code
we
of
use
ethics
codes of ethics?
usually
When can we
emphasize ethical
resort to
principles and ethical
anti-corruption
values,
agencies?
whereas
And so
codes
on.
of conduct
And number
mention
three,
more
which is to begin to develop a
different rules in
regulatory
how to
framework that
behave,
includes all forms of
and how
regulation.
to
So
face different ethical
try to
dilemmas. For
think or
example,
speculate
a
about
code of ethics would
what
stress
different types
integrity,
of
would
regulatory
stress
forms you
honesty,
can use in any
impersonal
organization.
relationships, or
And here,
equality and fairness.
I strongly
Whereas a
urge you
code
to
of
go
conduct
back
would
to
tell
your
you
topic
you
of
need to
your
be
team
friendly with
project
your
and think about
customers.
the different
You need
regulatory
to
forms
treat
that were
all
used
everyone
in
with
the
dignity and
organization that you
respect,
chose.
and so on. They are necessary, both codes of
Of
ethics
the
and codes
basic
of
learning
conduct, for those
objectives of this
organizations that
chapter is to
apply
be
the
able to
compliance
describe the
approach,
nature of
but they're
ethical
not
guidance
sufficient.
like
As we said,
self-regulation,
they will never cover
code of
100%
ethics,
of all
and
the
regulatory
circumstances that an
agencies. So
organization
we
would
shall
face.
discuss
And there
how
are
we shall
actually two
enforce
views regarding how to
ethical
develop
behavior inside the
codes of ethics and
organization
conduct for
using
any organization.
self-regulations, codes
The
of
first
ethics,
view
and
believes that
resorting to
a code of
anti-corruption
conduct can be
agencies.
externally imposed
Number two
on an
is to
organization.
analyze
So
what
it can
form
be
of
developed
regulation is
outside the
appropriate and under
organization by
which
maybe
circumstances.
external
So when can we
consultants,
use codes of ethics?
and
When can we resort
imposed
to
on the
anti-corruption agencies?
organization.
And so
However,
on.
in that
And
case,
number three,
people
which
working
is
in
to
the
begin to
organization
develop
would
a
most
regulatory
probably
framework
consider
that
this
includes
code of
all
ethics
forms of
as a
regulation.
controlling
So
mechanism,
try to think
and
or
they would
speculate
only
about
follow or
what
comply with
different
it
types of
out of
regulatory forms
fear
you
of
can use
sanctions
in
and
any
punishment, but they
organization.
were not convinced
And
by
here,
its necessity.
I strongly urge you to
The
go
other
back
view,
to
on the
your
other
topic
hand,
of
believes
your
that
team project and
these
think about the
codes
different
should be
regulatory
internally
forms that were
developed
used
with the
in the
participation
organization
of
that you
all the
chose.
relevant stakeholders, and then they also should be embedded in the
Of the basic learning
organization by
objectives of this chapter
conducting
is to be
training,
able to
for
describe
example,
the nature of
or
ethical
having
guidance like
workshops
self-regulation,
inside the
code
organization
of ethics,
that
and
would
regulatory
educate the people
agencies. So
about these
we shall
codes,
discuss
inform them about
how
them,
we
and so
shall
on.
enforce
And also by building trust
ethical
among the
behavior inside the
employees. These
organization
codes should not be
using
considered as one
self-regulations,
way
codes of
of
ethics, and
distrusting the employees,
resorting
but it
to
should be
anti-corruption
considered as one
agencies.
way to offer guidance
Number
for the
two is
employees
to
in case they
analyze
were
what form
facing
of
ethical
regulation is
dilemmas. So
appropriate and
this
under
all
which
needs to be
circumstances. So
discussed
when can we
and
use codes
explained
of
to the
ethics? When
employees,
can we
and if
resort to
that happens, this
anti-corruption
will build
agencies?
trust.
And so on.
Also, in order
And
to
number
embed
three, which is
codes
to
of
begin to
ethics
develop a regulatory framework
and
that
codes of
includes all
conduct
forms of
in the
regulation. So
organization, your
try to
organizational
think or
culture
speculate
needs to
about
refer
what different types of
continuously
regulatory
to
forms you
these
can
codes of
use in
ethics
any
and conduct,
organization.
so that people would
And here,
always be
I
informed
strongly
about the
urge you to
different
go back to your topic
statements,
of
about the
your team
different rules
project
and
and think about
regulations,
the
and how
different
to respond,
regulatory
and so
forms
on.
that were
Because at
used
time of
in the
crises,
organization that you
nobody has the
chose.
time to start from the very beginning and be
Of the
educated
basic
about the
learning
codes of
objectives
ethics.
of this
But
chapter
if
is to
they
be
are
able to describe the
continuously
nature of
trained on
ethical
them
guidance
and the
like
culture always
self-regulation,
refers
code of
to these
ethics,
codes
and
and so
regulatory
on, then
agencies.
people
So
would be
we shall
acquainted
discuss
to them.
how we shall
However,
enforce
the effectiveness of these
ethical
codes
behavior inside
depends
the
upon the context
organization
in which the
using
organization exists.
self-regulations, codes of
Usually, when
ethics,
people
and
develop
resorting to
or
anti-corruption
when
agencies.
organizations develop codes of
Number
ethics,
two is
they
to
are
analyze what form
thinking
of
about
regulation
how
is
to behave
appropriate and
in the
under which
different possible
circumstances. So when
circumstances
can we
that the
use codes of
organization
ethics?
might be
When can we
witnessing.
resort to
But at times of
anti-corruption
uncertainty,
agencies?
when things
And
are
so on.
unfamiliar and
And
happen
number
for the
three,
first
which
time,
is to begin to develop a
sometimes
regulatory
no codes of
framework that
ethics
includes all
or no
forms of regulation.
regulations
So
might be
try
explaining
to
these
think or
circumstances.
speculate
So, in
about
that case, the
what
effectiveness
different types of
of these
regulatory
codes
forms you
might
can
decline.
use in
So,
any
they are
organization.
the codes are
And here,
most
I
effective
strongly
when
urge you
we
to
are
go back
facing
to your topic of
when we are
your
facing,
team project and
certain
think about the different
circumstances
regulatory
where
forms that
all
were
the
used
practices are
in
known
the
and
organization
all
that
the
you
factors
chose.
inside the external environment are clear. But in unclear, vague
Of the basic learning
times,
objectives of this
sometimes
chapter
it's
is to be able
difficult
to
that we
describe
would
the nature of
find
ethical guidance like
already
self-regulation,
written statements for
code
how
of
to behave
ethics,
in
and
these
regulatory
unfamiliar
agencies.
circumstances.
So we shall
A
discuss
second factor that might
how
increase the
we shall
effectiveness
enforce
of
ethical
the codes is the content.
ethical behavior
That
inside the
the content
organization
of these
using
codes should be
self-regulations,
consistent,
codes
should
of
be
ethics,
clear
and
enough for all the
resorting
employees to
to
understand.
anti-corruption
And
agencies.
it should also
Number two is to analyze what
be
form of regulation is
applicable
appropriate and
to
under
the
which
different
circumstances. So
circumstances
when
as
can
much
we
as
use
possible.
codes of ethics? When
And
can we
number
resort to
three,
anti-corruption
for
agencies?
with
And
regard
so on.
to the factors
And
that
number
help
three, which is to
increase the
begin to
effectiveness
develop
of
a
codes of
regulatory
ethics, is the
framework that includes
implementation.
all forms of regulation.
Whenever
So try to think or
organizations refer
speculate
to
about what different
these
types
codes
of
while
regulatory
working,
forms you
while
can use in any
performing, and so
organization.
on, people, as I said
And
before,
here,
would always
I
be
strongly
acquainted
urge
with
you to
these
go back
statements
to
and
your
guidelines.
topic of
So
your team project
they
and
would
think
always
about the different
implement the codes
regulatory
while
forms
they're
that were
working.
used
But in case you
in
don't
the
refer to
organization that
these
you
codes,
chose.
then when the time comes and you need to implement them,
Of the basic
you would
learning
face
objectives
difficulty.
of this chapter is to
And
be
number
able to
four
describe the
is
nature of ethical
enforcement,
guidance
which
like
means using
self-regulation,
punishment or
code
rewards
of ethics,
based
and
on whether
regulatory
the
agencies. So we shall
employees
discuss
comply or violate these codes
how
of
we
ethics.
shall
So in case they
enforce
comply, you
ethical
need
or
to reward them. In
ethical
case they
behavior inside
violate
the
these codes, you
organization
need to
using
look for a
self-regulations,
way
codes
for
of ethics,
enforcement, whether
and
to use punishment
resorting
or
to
something else.
anti-corruption agencies. Number two is to analyze what form of regulation is
So after
appropriate
we
and under
have
which
discussed what
circumstances.
codes
So
of
when
ethics
can we
are,
use
let
codes of
us talk
ethics?
about the
When can
rationale
we
for
resort
with
to
regards to
anti-corruption
they
agencies?
provide a clear
And
statement
so
of
on.
ethical
Of course,
values.
number
They
three,
tell
which
the
is to
number
begin
one,
to
they should be
develop a
clear.
regulatory
They should be
framework that
understandable to
includes all
all
forms
the
of
employees
regulation.
and
So
advocates.
everyone should
And they
understand or
also, number
speculate
two,
about,
are
should know
coherent and
exactly what
persistent
different
guidance
types
is
of regulatory
indicated in
forms
these
you
codes
can
how to
use
behave
in
in
any
the
Number two,
organization
they should be
circumstances.
consistent,
And
meaning
here,
that
all
I
the mentioned
strongly urge
statements,
you
they
to go
should be
back to your
harmonious
topic
for
of
those
compatible
who
with
are not
project
going
and
to
think
comply,
about the different
contradict
regulatory
guidelines, or
forms that
otherwise
exist
they would lead to
in
confusion.
the organization that you
There
Number
are
three, they should
actually
also be
three types of
harmonious
codes.
with legislation
Whether
and
codes
rules.
of
Of the
conduct should not
basic learning
violate any
objectives
external
of this
laws or
chapter
any
is to be
external
able to describe the
professional
nature
art
of ethical
direction
guidance like
or guiding
self-regulation,
further rules
code
inside
of
the
ethics, and
organization.
regulatory
The codes
agencies.
are
So
very
we shall
broad, very
discuss
general.
and number four,
There
how
should
we
be
shall
as much
enforce
as
ethical
possible. They
or
tell you about
ethical behavior
the
inside the
broad view
organization
that the
using
organization
both
the
self-regulations,
stakeholders
codes
while
of ethics,
developing
and those codes
so
resorting
we
to
would like to hear
anti-corruption
this
agencies.
view that
equality in our
Number two
organizations,
is to analyze what
the
form of
organization
regulation is
itself
appropriate
should
and under which
develop
circumstances.
exactly be
So when can
applied.
we
So
use
in that
codes
case,
of ethics? When
circumstances,
can we
this might
resort
not
to
be while
anti-corruption
creating
agencies?
or developing
And
your
so
own
on.
code of ethics
And
to
number
have this
three, which is
ownership
to begin to
we
develop
have the
a
guiding
regulatory
to make
framework
sure that
includes
everybody
all
will
forms of
comply with
regulation.
these
So
codes
try
in a
to
broad
think or
statement,
speculate
even if they
about
disagree,
in the
but
ethical
at least they have
different types
participated
of
in the
regulatory
process
forms
and now
you
they
can
know that
use
they
in any
must
organization.
comply
Or
and so
here,
on. So
I
in that
strongly
case,
urge
in
you
a
to go
friendly
back to
way,
your topic
or
of
treat
your
them
team
with
project
respect.
and think about the
They are
different
not as
regulatory
broad
forms
as
that
the
were used
operational
have
in
no
codes,
specific set of
and
principles, meaning
however
that there
they
is
can
no
be
rule of thumb here for the different
applied to different
principles that
circumstances.
of the basic
So
learning
when
objectives
for
of
example,
this
when a
no
customer
one
comes
is
to
able to
buy a
describe the
product,
nature
you
of
still need
ethical
to be
guidance
friendly.
like self-regulation.
But
The
after
majority
saying when a customer
mentions and
complains
regulatory
about the
principles
product, you
like
still
we shall
need to be
discuss
friendly.
you have to
Just
how we
treating
shall
customers
enforce
in a
ethical
friendly
or
way is
ethical
a
behavior
guiding
inside the
statement
organization
that can be
using
applied to
self-regulations,
remember the
codes of
rules
ethics,
of
and
bureaucracy.
resorting
Number three,
to
we have the
and also
regulatory
serving the
codes
public.
that tell you
Number two
obeying
is
the
to
laws
analyze
in a way
what
that
form
is
of
almost like
regulation
a
is
catalog,
appropriate and
mentioning
under which
procedures
circumstances.
that
So when
must be
can we
followed
use codes
in
of ethics? When
specific
can
better
we
be
resort to
circumstances. For
anti-corruption
example,
agencies
meaning
and so on?
that if you
And
have
number
a
three,
complaining
which is to begin to
customer,
develop a
then number
regulatory
one, framework
do
that
not
includes
do
all
this
forms
and
of
this and this,
regulations. So
and
try
which is
to
a negative
think,
tone,
speculate
write
about,
it,
write your
friendly,
but
then
state
you
different
need to write
types
it
of
in
regulatory
compulsory tone.
forms. Tell him
Please
about
do
the
this in your
different
organization. Please respect
and the
here
procedures that are
I
going to be
strongly
followed.
urge you to go
Please
back
be
to
on
your
him for
topic
this,
of your
etc.
team project
Please,
and
okay,
think
so
about the
treat
different
more
regulatory rules that
regulating
were
how
used
you are going
in
to
the
behave in the
organization
different
that
and
settled the
finally,
circumstances. It is important to
I
know that
know
many
that Ahmed
countries have
Tawfiq
initiated codes for
shall
different
the
rules.
basic handling objectives.
We can never
think
chapter is
ahead
to be
about the
able to
different
describe the
situations
nature of
we are
ethical
going to
guidance,
face.
like
This is
self-regulation. So
true.
we have
And
code
this
of
is why
ethics
we
and
say
regulatory
many
agents.
might also
We shall
for being
discuss
too
how
very
we
regulating
enforce
and so
ethical
on,
or
and thereby
ethical
they will
behavior inside
never
the
cover
organization.
100%
Now we move on
of the
to
different
how the
circumstances that
compliance
the
approach
organization
is implemented
will face, but
worldwide.
they
Now,
maybe
what
would
does
regulate
this
only the
worldwide
known
we see
or
implement or
familiar
adopt
aspects,
a
and
compliance
this is
code of
easier
ethics.
seen
Thus,
in
and
an
sometimes these
analysis
are called
way or
charter
but
of
this
ethics
depends
or
often
charter
number
of
one
agency.
and
It
many
depends upon the
criticize
codes
code
to
and
which
number
you
three
have, which is
and
to
not
begin
just
to develop
the
a
level of too
regulatory
general in
framework
case
that
you
has
have many
rules and
regulations
regulations.
on
So
them
to
you
try
know
to think
and so they might
carefully
of course
about
be
or you have
what
ethical
different
concepts
scope
or
or
rules
and
and
as I said
applications
like
and so
different
on inside the
and
organization.
I
Here,
would like
I
then
strongly
one
urge
case
you to go back
clear
to your
ethical
topic of
guidance
your team project and think about the different regulatory rules that were used in the organization that will shape behavior inside the organization.
However, it
As
is
a matter of fact, this
difficult
is chapter called the larger
and
results
they are
of
put
the
on a
basic handling
continuum.
objectives.
Okay,
As this chapter is to be able to
also a
describe
second
the
factor
nature of
would
ethical
be the
guidance
fact
and to the
that to which
regulations
extent do you
of
have
code of
adaptation
ethics and
and
regulatory rules
so
or
here we go back
we
to
shall
the
discuss
ideas
how
and
we
also
shall enforce
that
ethical
different
or
you need to be
ethical
aware
behavior
that
inside the
what is
organization, use
used
or
many
self-regulation
as
for
well
code of
as that
ethics and so
offers
on,
also
resorting to
general
cross-corruption
can be
agents.
the
Integrity
employee
approach
as
number two
now we
is
must
to analyze how
if
the
you have
compliance approach is implemented
with
worldwide.
regulating
So when can we use code of
then
ethics?
in
Worldwide, we
somehow
see
better
many
and
countries
worse
adopting
also
codes of
compliance
ethics,
approaches that
and
are
sometimes
rules
this
and
is
regulations
called just to
nevertheless
begin to develop charter of ethics framework or charter of ethics regulations. So try to think in different ways, but the different types of regulations
to which
that
extent
were used
conditions
in
of
the
administration
organization.
so in that case
And
here
here, I strongly urge you to go back to your topic of your team project and think about the different regulatory rules that were used in the organization that will shape.
so in that
That
case
we cannot apply
one
code
code
for
for
everything.
and the basic
The
planning
reason
objectives
is
okay
this chapter is to be able to describe the nature of ethical guidance, like self-regulation
and
that code
they
of
are put
ethics
on
and
the
regulatory
another
agents.
most of
So
them would be
we shall
the
discuss
again
how
back
we
to
shall enforce
however
ethical or
other
ethical
however
behavior
also
in
we
order
are
to
not
be
thinking
use
about
self-regulation for code of
different
ethics
countries
and
worldwide
have
or
standards